Hello, greetings from India. At the outset, I'd like to express my deep gratitude to the University of Oxford for providing me with this opportunity to share my presentation. The presentation is titled Encouraging Empathy-Driven School Systems in Post-Pandemic South Asia. The COVID-19 pandemic has wrought havoc in South Asian countries like India. The impact has been particularly severe on school education. The inegalitarian socio-economic structure and the resultant digital divide with which South Asian schools operate has resulted in millions of children being denied access to quality education during the pandemic. The fundamental argument within the presentation asserts that the future of quality education in South Asia depends enormously on the active encouragement of empathetic school education systems. My presentation today will focus on four aspects of this discussion: the concept of empathy as a psychological construct, the relevance of empathy in school systems, the problems of school children in South Asia in the context of the prevailing pandemic, and the interventions to create empathy-driven school systems in post-pandemic South Asia. So, what is empathy? Empathy is a relatively new concept in psychology, and while it's largely polysemic in nature, in the present context, empathy can be defined as a human urge to feel with the other. Empathy is different from sympathy. While sympathy describes a feeling for the other, empathy is defined as a feeling with the other. Modern theorizations of empathy explain empathic processes as three distinct phenomena. Cognitive empathy, which relates to understanding with an individual in distress. Affective empathy involves a feeling with the person in distress, and compassionate action, wherein individuals act to mitigate the sufferings of those in distress. Effective empathy is not essential for compassionate action. However, cognitive empathy is essential and adequate for compassionate action. Empathy is essential in school systems as a driver for excellence, creating a psychologically safe environment for children where children are not scared to make mistakes or ask questions of the authorities. Consequently, encouraging optimal school outcomes in academics and other co-curricular activities. As promoter of egalitarian, just and forgiving schools, which motivates students from underprivileged sections of the society, recognize that all students have the potential to succeed in their own way, discard retributive justice systems, and treat children fairly. And as stimulant for creation of empathic and human societies by encouraging empathic behavior among teachers and students in school, which ultimately affect the society at large. Problems faced by school students in South Asia during the pandemic. In terms of intensity and in terms of permanence, present with diversity, and can be presented as a continuum on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 represents transient boredom to 10 which represents permanent tragic life outcomes of COVID orphans. 2 would represent psychological problems due to change in routine and lifestyle. 3 would represent loneliness and missing friends. 4 would represent problems caused by digital divide and socio-economic situations. 5 would represent pandemic related financial problems. 6 would represent trauma caused by news, photographs, videos of the ill or the dead. 7, death of known people, friends, relatives. 8, illness in the immediate family. 9, death in the immediate family. And 10, COVID orphan. It should be recognized at this point that even a seemingly transient problem might present with severe intensity even for a short period. Thus, every problem has a horizontal and vertical dimension and can be represented in the form of a matrix. And the matrix categorizes these problems into 4 categories: permanent, high intensity; transient, high intensity; permanent, low intensity; and transient, low intensity. These problems can result in numerous psychological problems in children, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, childhood depression, anxiety disorders. Creating empathic schools in post-pandemic South Asia will first require us to assess and analyze the prevailing systems. School systems in post-colonial South Asia are mostly driven by control and conformity, with an overwhelming focus on grades and scores in standardized examinations. Aspirational South Asian societies view education with respect and perceive excellent performances in standardized examinations as opportunities for upward socio-economic mobility. The pandemic, however, has changed the situation, and schools need to focus on each individual child and extend a healing hand. And recognizing empathy as a key driver will help in this regard. Empathic school systems focus on maximizing psychological safety instead of maximizing test scores. Psychological safety has been defined by William Kahn as being able to show and employ oneself without fear of negative consequences of self-image, status or career, unquote. Thus, psychological safety in school fundamentally describes an atmosphere where children can make mistakes without the fear of ridicule or punishment. In the post-pandemic school scenario, when children are adjusting to the new normal, schools should prioritize psychological safety over tests as the desired outcome. An empathic school culture in post-pandemic South Asia will focus on flexible rather than rigid rules to accommodate the diverse needs of the children in crisis. Benevolence over control, relaxed and friendly school atmosphere, egalitarian approach. Promote a liberal school culture wherein children are allowed to voice their opinion and share their thoughts and feelings. Focus on nurture, self-paced study, constant encouragement, extreme patience, respect for students and an understanding of their points of view, remembering names of students and their background. Extension of school boundaries, appreciating that school boundaries do not end at the school gates and extend far beyond, thus helping students with their needs at home and acting as a source of constant support. Annual empathy audit. Conduct compulsory annual empathy audits in school, preferably by external experts, and aim to achieve higher empathy scores instead of high examination scores. And in creating these systems, there will be certain barriers. So the barriers are listed along with the probable solutions. Compassion fatigue, physical and psychological stress that results from prolonged empathic behavior. And the probable solution to this problem is division of work, adequate periodic breaks. Absence of affective empathy. Teachers may understand the situation from the point of view of the child, however, they may not feel with the child. Incorporation of algorithmic procedures wherein compassionate action can be taken once cognitive empathy is triggered and the problems faced by a student is understood can be a probable solution to this. Adults require empathy too. In moments of crisis, it is very easy to forget that adults, teachers and staff, school staff might require empathy too. School systems have to adjust for empathic understanding and compassion for teachers too. While the pandemic has wreaked havoc all over the world, the problems that South Asian school children face are unique due to factors such as socio-economic inequality and the consequent digital divide, inadequate social infrastructure and rudimentary social security and support. The best possible approach to tackle this enormous crisis is to create empathy-driven school systems which ensure that schools undergo a process of transformation from their current role as mere institutions for disseminating prepackaged information to evolving as centers for help, care and support of children in South Asia. Thank you very much.